And we're back. We're talking about becoming a financially secured adult. You know, we were speaking earlier about money, and as you very well know, Lightning was mentioning the emotional attachment to money. Money is a tool that has a very huge impact on how people get to live their lives. And as a result of that, also due to human nature, we tend to attach a great deal of emotion to it. Why do you think that is?
Because it's currency.
The
currency.
The
It has a
means
current
move. It has to
energy.
move.
Yes, it has an energy.
Right.
It has an energy, and I think people feel stagnant when it's not moving, as they should, because money should circulate.
That's
But when
absolutely
people
right.
feel like they don't have enough, what do?
They hold
They
on. They
hold
start to
on
hoard,
to it.
which is not the right
And
thing.
that blocks the flow. Yeah. So if you have your fists closed holding on to money, you can't have them open to receive income. So it's a lot of, and most of that stuff is habit. It's conditional habits. It's imprinted at such an early age based on the conversations we hear around our family, our neighborhood, our society. So it's just how our socioeconomic makeup is made based on our interactions with our communities and our families.
You know, I think the schools, the churches, some of the community civic organizations need to hold some sort of class.
They need to stop telling people you're going to pay or go to hell. I mean, they need to just tell the truth.
It's not in their budget. It's not in their budget, okay?
They just need to. Well, there's a lot of hell's going to have a long line. I want to know, can I prepay in advance, take the VIP route to heaven?
Can I make payments?
Can I get that on installment plan, please? I'm sorry. Your access to heaven has been declined.
Yeah, if
Wow.
anybody ever had that experience, there was, again, an emotion tied to money.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a store and your credit card, debit card, whatever, doesn't go through, that is an emotional attachment to the card. Oh my gosh, because now you have no money. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, then you want to catch an attitude that's like, no, there must be something wrong. No, sweetheart.
Yeah,
You have overspent.
Speaking of that, I had a friend when we talked about getting our very first credit card. A friend of mine, close friend of mine, she decided she's going to take myself, her mother, and a few other people. We all went to dinner, and she paid with the credit card, and the credit card was declined. And she immediately got belligerent. She's like, "No, you didn't do something right. Run it again." She sent that man back 3 times, and the mother was like, "Darling, obviously the credit card is empty and ain't got no money on it." Well, what she didn't know is because it was a student credit card when they sent it to her, she only had $250 on the credit card, and she just completely. Well, $250 for her first credit card back then
was a lot of money.
Was a lot.
Yeah.
I had, I think, like maybe only $1,700, which was a lot, but she didn't get a very large limit, and so she.
Yeah, but
Sometimes when you pay with credit cards, it doesn't post, but it comes off of your balance, and so it had, I guess she had maybe checked her balance, but it hadn't completely posted.
Yeah, it was probably
and so she thought she had a full access, and so, and I was just sitting there thinking, oh my word, I'm glad I had enough for my portion.
This is why you shouldn't judge, because in Vegas, I've gone to Vegas. I was with my cousin and his wife, and it was cool. We're having a great time. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get us dinner tonight. This, that, declined. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on? It wasn't because I didn't have the funds, love. It was because stupid bank cut me off because I was in Vegas, and because the last thing I had was something from Houston, and then all of a sudden I was in Vegas using my card up, so they were like, wait a minute, so they froze my account without telling me to say, hey,
I don't like somebody having.
I hate when they do that because then I had to wait.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, of course, embarrassed because I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? My cousin's like, hey, it's okay, cuz don't worry about it. I got it. I'm like, no, that's not cool.
And speaking of credit cards, when I was a kid, I remember when I don't know when it became cliche for everyone to have an American Express, a gold one or a green one, whatever. But I always thought, well, not everybody can get a black one. You have to spend $150,000 minimal a year to get a black card, and you have to be invited. And so, and you have to have assets of over several millions, or at least $1 million somewhere. But anyway, my thought of it is the idea, even though I don't like being in bed with one partner, or as far as bank, the idea of how American Express works forces you to stay on budget, because the reality of it is you must pay that at the end of the month.
That's right.
If you don't, they will tack on a hefty charge, and they will tack on an interest rate and a penalty. But
they'll cut you off.
They will cut you off. But I think it teaches people to honor their budgets. I personally, and I would like to hear your thought on this, Israel. I don't know if you would. We're not endorsing any one particular company, but my thought of it is a travel leisure card versus a revolving credit card. It temperaments someone to have a more disciplined habit around a budget, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I would say, in those instances where we are talking about getting declined, you to always have a backup, and that's mainly for one of the main reasons for the emergency fund as well.
Right.
And yeah, the travel card, I would say a limit on it. You'd have a limit on it, and it would be on the holder of it.
Right.
That
American
you're
Express thing
traveling,
could be one.
because I've had that right, myself, go out of town and they might stole your card, so you'd have to call. Usually
I've never
the
experienced
I've
that.
had, the carriers I've had, they're like 24-hour service, so I had
No problem getting it
Right.
out, yeah.
Yeah, and see, that's actually happened to me a couple of times. So now I've just gotten into the habit of when I know that I'm taking a trip somewhere, I will let my bank know, hey,
I'm about to
I'm
travel.
flying out. I'll be back. This is where I'm going to be at. But it even happened here because here at Houston we have the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So when I do my shopping there's vendors from all over who
And it
come.
registers.
And so it registers in their state or wherever they're from. And I actually had the bank. There was the one time that they did call to say, hey, we just want to make sure we notice some unusual spending and it's posting for these locations. We want to make sure you have your card.
It's a
Your
good safety
physically,
feature.
physically
Yeah.
can. Can you let us know if you have it? Did you make these purchases before we continue? Because we're about to freeze your account.
Right.
And I let them know. Oh yeah, I was at the rodeo doing shopping. Okay, no problem. Cool. We'll take this off. But not that time. I wish they'd done that for me in Vegas. I would have been embarrassed.
Yeah, right.
It's just part of banking trending, but the thought of it is this is a perfect example how they hold your money
I
hostage.
don't like that.
Exactly.
They
They had
hold
control
your
over
money
my
I'm
money.
ready to
hostage.
say that,
And you have to
And I
call
have
to
to
them
have
and prove to
autonomy.
them
Yeah,
who
right.
you are.
Who I am.
Like, I hate when they do that. It's like, I'm in the airport. I do not want to say out loud what my social security number is. Can't you give me a password or something? It's like,
See, I don't like this.
I don't think that that's appropriate. They always do that when you're at
Yeah, they make
the
you
most
feel wrong.
inconvenient time. And then they want to ask you a jillion questions. Well, who was your first dog? I mean, what was your first school teacher? And what was your dog when you were 3? I was like, I'm trying to catch a flight, dude. I'm standing in line quite embarrassed. Can you just make it go through,
Israel, do you have any information that you think would help our listeners in regards to raising children or teenagers rather, even if they themselves are not financially savvy? Are there online courses, I guess, that does this? And I believe schools and community agencies and Urban League and NAACP, all these sorts of organizations should help train the kids.
I think banks should be held
Well,
responsible
banks should
for
as well, but
funding.
they're not going to do. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, it's too much big business.
They're not going to do it. But
Banks
the
are big
money's
business.
going to them. You would think they would play an integral part in.
That's right.
See,
Well,
Yeah.
because if you become financially responsible,
Then
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
pay
go
you're gonna make your payments on time, and I'm not gonna get your interest. So I don't,
I don't
want
want
you
you to pay- well,
I don't
yeah.
want you to be smart with your money. I
No,
want you to
that's
continue to dig a hole.
That
It's
may
set
not
up.
be
It's
true
true.
because there are some people who actually use their credit cards for the sole purpose of leveraging, and they would rather pay that interest instead of losing their own money and losing the interest they're getting. So there's a fine line. I think there's a point when you get financially savvy enough to know to keep my money and I'm gonna use yours. And
Right.
so
Oh yeah.
OPM.
There's a trick, with reward cards and points and how to, hustle through that. Yeah, I've learned a few things with that, but
Israel was saying.
before you even get to that point, I'm
What were
sorry.
you saying, Israel?
What I was saying is that, the banks they would make more money with you being financial salary because if you had the money in the bank, they could make
Sell
money.
you the
Well, they can make investments. Yeah, right.
They're going to invest your money.
That's
If
right,
you had $1 million in their bank account, they're going to treat you like royalty rather if you had $50 in the bank account. Or they're just charging you service bills and all the money. They're just making the money, a little bit of money off. But if
It's still pencil whipping you.
$1
I
million
don't know how you look
in
at
their
it.
bank account, they're making money off of it because you're not tangibly having those dollars in your hand.
and there's
Right. And
there's perks to that.
To make that money, to make more money.
right, and I'm also not getting any of that interest. I'm not getting any of those dividends from the interest or from the money you're making off of my money.
No,
You just
You
like
don't
with
even know
the
about
government,
that.
with the IRS, they're using our money throughout the year,
Absolutely.
interest free, and then here comes income tax time.
You better have your money.
Right, and
They
I
send
need
it
to
back
prove to
with
you
no
that you need
interest.
to give it to me back, and you're going to give it to me, at the dollar instead of, hey, you've had how many months of interest that you
To
owe me?
use my money. Right.
Right.
Wow. Mm.
But to answer your question, I would say Junior Achievement is a good nonprofit
Okay.
that I actually go to school and teaches financial literacy, and they have a great, I would say
about the Y? Does the Y offer anything? The Y,
No, I
why
don't
they're
think
not
they
offering?
do.
They need this.
I don't think so.
Yeah, this is very important. I don't know why,
Self and fitness.
but they'll have soccer classes. They have all these other
Fitness is
activities
important.
and fitness. Yeah, but you don't deal with somebody being
I
financially
think I would
fit.
rather be
Financially fit.
physically fit before. Yeah, I think physically fit is more important than financially fit.
Well, yeah, if you physically fit, you live a long time and you can make enough money to become financially fit.
There you go.
Okay, but in the meantime, you know, you're not getting what you need. But
Yeah.
on that note, you know, money is something that you have to deal with your entire life, and it impacts a significant amount of the decisions that you will make during your entire life. So the real story is if the parents don't do the job, who will? Schools don't, the financial services industry won't, the government won't, and if parents don't teach, then they often learn the hard way, and costly mistakes can be avoided by the parents being proactive in teaching their teens how to become financially secure adults.
Wow.
So hopefully, you know, we've talked about a few things, Israel. Hopefully you will be instrumental in getting something started like this for the community or within your community. This is something that we're in dire need of.
No pressure though.
No pressure, none at all. Just throwing it out there.
We thank you for being
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
guest
Thank you so
2
much for
weeks in a
joining us
row.
this week and last week
That's
also
right.
again.
And all of our
Thank you.
listeners who followed us on Facebook and joined us again this week. And we see some of our callers are still,
It's still
texting in. Yeah, I'm unfortunate we won't be able to read all of your responses, but we will maybe make a response to them on Facebook. So continue to follow us after the show.
Okay, and thank you guys. We will talk with you next week. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, OMG and Friends, and on Twitter at All About You Show. Thank you.
Today's show is brought to you by Image. I make a great employee, executive, and entrepreneur etiquette training seminars where life skills meet social graces. Please visit www.yourbizimage.com. That's www.yourbizimage.com for more information.
I don't like Bank of America either.
I don't like, I hate them. I
They
have
are the
my
worst.
loan with them. They are
I had Bank of America when I was in college, and I got rid of it quick.
I had Mercantile when I was in college.
I just got rid of Chase.
Yeah, because they tried
They were taxing my ass. I was like, what?
they got money. You got a
Look, your
savings
direct
account, they
deposits.
tax
I was like, that may be the case, but my cash deposits more than make up. Well, no, ma'am. See, it doesn't work. Oh, well, no, you don't understand how this works. I said, close my account.
Yeah, let's cut this off right now.
Go ahead and pull that out now.
Everybody's pimping you, you know?
Yeah. It's like, no, ma'am. I'm really tempted to just go back and just get a safe and just hold my stuff there and get just a little account. So then, because there's so many places where you have to use a card. You have no choice.
Well, you know, hotel, car reservations.
Yeah,
so you can't
it's
do
like-
it without a credit
You
card.
can't function without a card. So
That's
it's like,
what
okay,
don't like.
I need
don't like
to.
being forced. Right?
Yeah, I need to go back to just having a card for those purposes and just keep my money cash
Right.
and then pay it
Well, you know,
when it's time. You know, not deposit until it's time to pay that to take care of it at that
Yeah,
time.
that's right. You know what I would like, it kind of concerns me the fact that, you know, if something were to happen and hurricane, anything happens, you can't get to your money. You know, you need to have money at home.
See, and that's what else
But
ticked me
nobody's
off
got
about Chase.
extra.
Right, and see, that's what else ticked me off about Chase is because then I had no access to my account when, you know, I got hacked.
Oh, okay.
I was like, well, I have no way to touch my money. You know, I didn't want to put any money in because, hey,
They're taking it. I've had that a couple times. I've had my identity taken, compromised 3 times.
Well, you know, I tell you what, y'all get a lot of interest in that topic. Some people,
Huh?
you get good interest in that topic.
Good.
You know, I'm just saying, you never would have thought.
Yeah, still doing this. There's certain things people